In the 20th century, it appears that Jesuit deception played a role in the 1912 discovery of the Piltdown Man, which was declared to be the missing link that would prove Darwin's theory of evolution. But 40 years after its discovery, Piltdown was proven to be a hoax. The chief culprit in the deception was said to be Charles Dawson, an amateur British archaeologist who sought fame and glory. Yet Dawson did not work alone. His helper was a Jesuit priest named Teilhard de Chardin. In 1980, Harvard professor Stephen Jay Gould would publish his belief that Teilhard himself was a co-conspirator with Dawson, who helped him create the Piltdown hoax. Yet another Jesuit-trained priest named Georges Lemaitre would further these ideas and develop the Big Bang Theory in 1931. In the book Vicars of Christ, former Jesuit priest Peter de Rosa writes of Pope Gregory VII and his school of forgers. He says, "For 7 centuries, the Greeks had called Rome the home of forgeries. Whenever they tried talking with Rome, the popes brought out forged documents, which the Greeks, naturally, had never seen." De Rosa says Gregory went way beyond the donation of Constantine. He had a whole school of forgers under his very nose, turning out document after document with the papal seal of approval to cater for his every need.
They propagated deceptions early on, and I believe those deceptions continue right up into the 20th century.
Evidence that Rome continued her forgeries into modern times can be shown in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. In 1873, Charles Spurgeon documented how the relic department of the Vatican had been exposed for manufacturing false relics and presenting them as the bones of various saints of old. We read that, so far back as 1828, this trade was going on, with pieces of bones of sheep and hares, or of human bones, taken from the catacombs, but such as were probably those of pagans, certainly not of saints and martyrs, whose names they affixed to them.
Shalom, Kolim Lai Yahovah Shemel Shai. Osquid the Bonus Delta GMS, Honest Akim, and peace and bless to you, brothers and sisters that listen. The hopeful elect, Kolim Lai Yahovah Shemel Shai. And of course, this lesson was inspired by the latest gaffe by Vocab Malone. Pretty much tried to say it was a satire, it was a joke about the Jesuits hiring him, who was also an FBI informant, to come at the Hebrew Israelites. That was not a joke, man. He pretty much told you in plain sight who's behind him, which makes perfect sense because I put up a brief history clip on the Jesuits and the many crimes that they've been doing throughout history. Okay, and the Jesuits is the, what Napoleon Bonaparte said, the French military leader who had different revolutions during that time. He said the Jesuits, which supposedly means the Society of Jesus, which they don't believe in the Mashiach at all. It's to the contrary. All right. And they work underneath the black pope. Okay. You have the white pope is what people know as the pope, the man you see. And then you have the black pope, which is the guy you don't see, man. And the Jesuits work directly underneath him. And they were their chief forgers of lies, man. And they have strong political ties as well. Okay, they influence political leaders, man. And what did he say about them? He said, Napoleon, the Jesuits are a military organization, not a religious order. Their chief, who is the Black Pope, is a general of an army, not the mere father abbot of the monastery. And the aim of this organization is power, power in its most despotic exercise, absolute power, universal power, power to control the world by the volition of a single man. Jesuitism is the most absolute of despotism, which has absolute force, or pretty much fascism, and at the same time the greatest and most enormous of abuses. You see, and they got kicked out of many countries, and then they came back, and a lot of your political leaders go back to the Knights of Malta, which is a Masonic order, man. A lot of them are Jesuits. Right? I believe even Fauci went to a Jesuit school. You see, and they're highly trained, man, in languages and different sciences as well. And it takes about 8 to 17 years to become a Jesuit priest. All right, and as you've seen in that that excerpt, that little clip, they forge a lot of documents and lies. All right, even Albert Rivera, who was a Jesuit, I remember the elders mentioned his name a couple of years back. I saw his documentary. What did he say about it? Because he's a Jesuit as well, or ex-Jesuit. He said, which also ties with vocab alone. Read what Albert Rivera said. He said, Rivera was one of the few Jesuit priests with the courage to expose the evil intentions of the Society of Jesus. And I'm going to put an article up with this problematic Edomite woman who's exposing as well. But he said, the courage to expose the evil intentions of the Society of Jesus, coming forward telling how he worked as one of the Jesuit order's infiltrators in America, with the job of infiltrating Protestant and Baptist churches with the intent of destroying them from within. That's what they do. And that's why a lot of these Israelites, they take the bag and they change the doctrine around, because they've been approached by certain Jesuits or Rosicrucians, man. Okay? And they give them, it was rumored that they did that to Comfy and other dudes. Right? And like Vocab said, the dude showed up with a briefcase, man. And also, they were behind, they helped support Darwin and the evolution theory. Even though they call themselves the Society of Jesus, that goes against what the book says, man. Right? We don't evolve or come from no monkeys, man. That's not our common ancestor. That's a lie. And they found out that a lot of the bones and a lot of the artifacts that they were coming up with were nothing but lies, man. It wasn't the bones of saints. Okay, they were bones of pagan, bones of animals. They used to, and also the guy who came up with the Big Bang Theory was a Jesuit priest. They mentioned it in the article. They mentioned it in the clip. Where was he from again? Let me check that real quick. George Latimetry, all right, a Belgian cosmologist, Catholic priest, a Jesuit, father of the Big Bang Theory. Pretty much this whole universe was created by a random explosion. See, but they call themselves, so they don't believe in the scriptures, man. That's why the scripture says, Job 13:4. Job 13:4, classic precept. Well, they were saying it all throughout that documentary. They said, but ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value. They're physicians of no value. They're forgers of lies, man. Just like Westcott and Hort in the 1800s, who were Jesuits. The reason why you got all these different translations today, it was due to the Jesuits, man. Because they wanted to go against the KJV, the King James Version. Okay, which was the authorized text. They wanted to create different texts to cause what? Confusion, man. All right? That's why, let me get 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 13. So, a brief expose on the Jesuits, the people who hired Vocab, man. Now to understand what his mission is. He wants to cause nothing but confusion, man. Right, 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 13. For such as false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into apostles of the Mashiach. Yeah, there's many false prophets out there, man. And they're infiltrators. That's what you look at certain groups, like a certain Israelite groups or certain other religious groups, the reason why they can't speak on certain things because they've been infiltrated, they've been paid off. And the main culprits go back to these Jesuits, man. It says, for such as false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into apostles of Mashiach, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. Yeah. The scripture says Satan himself shall transform into an angel of light, and so is his ministers. They come in the name of God and quote what the world ignorantly called Jesus, but they're really doing the working of their daddy, the devil, man. All right, supporting theories and ideas that has nothing to do with the Bible, man. All right. And who is their God? Lucifer, man. All right, that they believe he's the bearer of light, which I assure you are that Lucifer. Okay, you are the man of sin, and it's been proven time and time again, man. That's why the scripture tells us, and a lot of these new age thinking and these thoughts and these different sciences and all this occultism, it all goes back to these guys, man. All right, and there's other groups similar to them as well. That's why the scripture says, let me get Colossians 2:8. Oh yes, and brother had brought that article out. I guess I'll just put it up on the screen briefly. She says that Laura Logan, she's always raising hell. She said that the suggested theory of evolution is hoax funded by the small hats. All right, and we also see in that article the Jesuits help promote that idea. You see, that's why the scripture says, let me get Colossians 2:8. So all that evolution theory and Big Bang theory, that was all created to cause nothing but confusion, man. These different translations, these different texts, nothing but confusion, man. Forges of lies. The scripture says, Colossians 2:8, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, and these other philosophies and these other doctrines. Scripture says, beware that any man spoil you after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, man. And we can see that right now, right? They pushing the Most High to the back, and they're pushing what? Science, which real science is knowledge. That's what it means. But it says after the rudiments of the world and not after the Mashiach. That's why Paul told Timothy, 1 Timothy 6:20. Okay, what's Aisha science now? There's no genders. You can jump back and forth. Binary, non-binary. Okay, woman of the year is a tranny. Right, the head health minister in Joe Biden's cabinet is also a tranny. Oh man, but that's the new age. Confusion, man. That's why he said 1 Timothy 6:20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, because that was heavily during the time of the Roman Empire. There was many philosophers at that time. All right, you had a lot of Epicureans and different Stoics, right, and a whole lot of schools of thoughts. So Paul is warning Timothy, stay away from those profane and vain babblings. All right, science falsely so called, a lot of these false science, a lot of false knowledge, especially in this day and time. All right, scientology, and it's just everything is man. It's just this a liberal this a liberal way of thinking, right? Pretty much anything goes. You can believe in whatever. Right now, there's only one truth, man. Right, and all these things were created to separate us from the book. Right, but the Most High always had an elect, man. But that's why the scripture also says about Aisha, Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. So like I said, I want to go a brief overview on the Jesuits and the part that they play. And I'm also hiring Vocab. But these are all devices of the devil. Then we get this Daniel 7:25. Is it Daniel 7:25? Let me see. Is it 7:25? Daniel chapter 7. You know what? No, not not this precept. Let me get Psalms 50. I read on down to verse 20. The point of verse 20, let me read Psalms 50. Psalm 50 and 16. It says, but unto the wicked, who is the wicked Aishah, you Edomites, man. What hast thou to declare my statutes? Y'all shouldn't even have the Bible in y'all hand, man. Period, man. The book was never for you. It condemns you. Or thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth, like the Pope calls himself the Holy Father, man. All right, that's blasphemy, man. You're not no Holy Father, man. Y'all don't even read out of the scriptures, man. All right, y'all have your own separate texts. See, seeing that in all these pagan Christian denominations, even Islam, I'll do a video on that soon, comes out of Roman Catholicism. It says, seest thou hatest instruction and castest my words behind thee? When thou sawest a thief, then thou consentest with him, and hast been partaker with adulterers. Thou gavest thy mouth to evil, thou tongue frameth deceit. And that's all they've been doing. Tongue frameth deceit, as we've seen in this lesson right here, them being forgers of lies. Also, you guys are also behind the small hats. Y'all also played a pivotal part in the small hats getting control of the land of Israel, and them saying that they're the Jews, man. So that's you also, for your tongue framing deceit. Thou sittest and speakest against thy brother Jacob. Thou slanderest thy own mother's son. Yeah, well, you have slandered us. You said that we 3/5 of a man, you Edomites. You also put us in captivity. You see? And the scripture says you furthered the affliction. Hell, even going into this lesson of Catholic, Roman Catholicism, slavery started with the Roman Catholic popes, man. And they tried to justify it and say that they were civilizing Jake, or what they said at that time, Africans, which were not Africans. We were civilizing them and we were giving them Christianity, right? That's the same spirit that Columbus tried to come with. Well, I'm civilizing the indigenous people because they're scavengers, they're Indians. I'm going to give them Christianity. You ain't give no Christianity, man. All right? And your fake Messiah, man, Cesare Borgia. See? But Moses said, these things thou hast done, and I kept silence. Thou thought I was altogether soon as one as thyself. Well, they painted the Most High in the image. But I will reprove thee and set them in order before thine eyes. And that's happening right now. Just did a last video on that. He's setting us in order before their eyes. All right? And pretty much, like, so we, through the power of Yahweh Shemal Shah, we're exposing them. All right? And yeah, one of your agents, Vocab, he's also been exposed, man. You see, he's been revealed to be an agent. You see? But I'm gonna close it out. I'm gonna just say, call him Yahweh Shemal Shah. With that, I'm gonna say Shalom.